Hello, my fellow happy people. Oh man, I was just as we're getting wound up here, I was just looking at as I was making my hot tea. I was looking through my apps to find my Zillow app, and I said, "Man, where the hell is it? I couldn't find my Zillow app." And I said, Where's my Zillow app?" I said, "Did they take it off?" I'm looking at normally it's like a blue background with I think a Z or something like that, and I was like sitting there thinking, "Where does it go?" But take a guess what is different about the Zillow app today, my friends. Oh my goodness. How come Amazon Music and Amazon Prime Video and Amazon doesn't have a certain flag to it? Bing, no certain flag to it. What's up with this, man? Google Earth? Oh man. Hello, my fellow happy people. Realtor.com, no flag to it. What's up with that? Oh my goodness. This whole thing is nuts. I mean, can you imagine being like these companies who are, oh man, yeah. Who are the people working these companies that say, you know something, we should show everybody that we are totally one with a certain group of people. But we won't do that in other places because we don't want to hurt people's feelings in other places. But we'll do it here to show that we are down with the cause, but not other places. And if anyone challenges us that we're doing it here, we'll call them bad names, but not in these other places. In the corporate America. One of the things I've come to realize, my friends, as I've gotten over my infatuation with corporatism, I was never really truly infatuated with, but I had a naive belief in ignorant in libertarianism, i.e., that private companies are not going to be evil. You know what I'm saying? Relative to the government. So now I recognize that's simply not true. And one of the things I've seen here, and probably since Bush Obama, because remember, Bush Obama is the same thing. So we got Bush Obama interrupted by 4 years of Trumpster. And then we have Biden now, which is Bush Obama. It's not even it's Jill Biden's around the country. But anyway, what I found is corporations, the government, they both, they work. It's fascism, man. They work together to promote the global cabal, and none of them care about you. Governments don't care about you. Corporations don't care about you. At least with government, though, you do have some say. You do have some control. Your local governments in particular. So my dad used to tell me that actually when it came to the local government of Alexandria, Virginia, when he's trying to start a business, he goes, "Man, the federal government is easy. It's the local governments where you get these little dictators more than anything." So he said, if you want to make a difference, get involved in your local government because that's where the powers are. The federal government, they just don't have enough. They don't care. It's just kind of funny because I'll never forget that, man. And it's true, man. So this idea that corporations are, sacrosanct, they just want to make a dollar, and they don't. They just want to, they're all in it for them. They're not even trying to make a dollar necessarily. They're just trying to make it so the top level guys get rich and everyone else can kiss their behinds. And that's why they're let's just put it this way. India is taking a lot of businesses' labor from America. And unfortunately, American labor is training the replacements. I deal with that. I talk to people like that all the time. I'm training my replacement in India. And I don't blame the Indians. I blame corporate America. So this idea that corporate America is something, you got Monica S. From Virginia? Huh. Right. The idea that corporate America goes, oh, we're so righteous. I used to think that. I used to think corporate America, the invisible hand, and now I know otherwise. Corporate America is just as bad as the government. The government ultimately has the firearms to murder people, as we've seen time and again. But corporate America can do violate your civil liberties just as much. So anyway. All right, so I want to share with you real quick, and I'm going to get started a little bit what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, the first when trading opens. I want to share with you this email that I got off. Oh man, did I lose it? Oh no. Yeah, okay. Breitbart Business Digest. Why bond yields fall despite, why bond yields fell despite worst inflation in decades and a record high fiscal deficit. All right, so this is from Breitbart Business Digest. And again, the headline, why bond yields fell. So we got the worst, record high, worst inflation in decades. I don't know why they didn't want to be stunned by this, man. I mean, it's just we had this huge drop in GDP last year. It just only makes sense that you're going to have a huge comeback. It's weird to me, but whatever. Okay. And a record high fiscal deficit. So I want to share with this right here. On Thursday, we learned that core inflation rose to its highest level in 29 years. Okay, because we were at the lows. And the federal budget deficit for the first 8 months of the year had hit its highest level ever. The federal budget deficit had hit its highest level ever. These things are, of course, closely linked. Not necessarily. Budget deficits have long been thought to put upward pressure on inflation. All right. Budget deficits have been long thought to put upward pressure on inflation. Okay. In 1975, Ronald Reagan stated that inflation has one cause and one cause alone: government spending more than government takes in. Budget deficits have long thought to put upward pressure on inflation. And my man Ronald Reagan said inflation has one cause: government spending more than it takes in. Is that true? All right. Most economists believe that central banks can offset the inflationary pressure created by deficits by raising interest rates. Higher rates discourage borrowing by businesses, which slows the growth of the money supply, push investments into safer assets, make capital more expensive for businesses, and eventually raise unemployment. That tends to hamper economic growth and offset the additional demand created by the budget deficit. So you're hearing this. This is huge. Most economists believe that central banks can offset the inflationary pressures pushed by deficits by raising interest rates because higher rates discourage borrowing by businesses. All right, that is true. Most economists are full of crap, which is because they think this stuff, man. What is wrong with that scenario of most economists? That most economists think by higher deficits will push higher interest rates, leading to less borrowing from businesses, leading to less economic growth. What would be, you think, use your head here. I've talked about this a couple times. What is wrong with that assumption? What is wrong with that assumption? I'd like for you guys to throw something out there if you can. Because this is fundamentally incorrect. From what we've learned in the last, basically since Reagan was in office, this is where economics textbooks are just so jacked up. I was reading some guy right here in the Austrian, the State of Modern Economics, talk about this exact same thing, how we're still using the Phillips curve and just this trite stuff in economics, and yet people still fall for it. Like it's just basically saying economists nowadays are nothing more than they just want the government cheese is what they want. All right, so I know it's a 15-second delay, so I'm going to pause for just a second to let this sink in, and I'm going to say it again because this is critical. And I'll answer it here in just a second. So I'm going to read it again. Most economists believe that central banks can offset the inflationary pressure created by deficits by raising interest rates because higher rates discourage borrowing by businesses, which slows the growth of the money supply, which push investment into safer assets, making capital more expensive for businesses, and eventually raising unemployment. That tends to hamper economic growth and offset the additional demand created by the budget deficit. All right, so think about this for just a second, because I want to see if I can't find what he was talking about with the economists and how there's just, I'm not going to be able to find it. Okay, I'm not going to find what he said here, but anyway, so this is the State of Modern Economics in the Austrian, and they get this through the Mises Foundation, the Mises Foundation in Alabama, Auburn, Alabama. All right, so basically, I'm reading from Breitbart Business, Kim, where Breitbart Business quotes or reads an article about high inflation, the highest we've seen in quite some time, and the highest federal budget deficit ever, and yet the interest rates fell. All right, so the problem here is, so we got Roy says it's about supply and demand. Well, maybe, yes, to some regard, but that's not. Let's see. All right, we'll just go ahead and go into this. So what happens is, what if businesses aren't borrowing money, regardless of low interest rates? Anyone remember when I talked about Richard Kuh's book, The Holy Grail of Macroeconomics, the balance sheet recession and what that did to Japan? You could literally have negative interest rates. And the old economists would say, well, if you have negative interest rates, it basically is no cost at all for businesses to borrow money. Those businesses are going to get out there and borrow money like drunken sailors, and they're going to turn around and use that money to create jobs and create demand and increase inflation, all that. If no one is borrowing money, if no one has any desire to borrow money, what does that mean? That means the monetary policy is irrelevant at that point. You can push interest rates up, push interest rates down. It does not matter because there is no demand for the debt. So if there's anything I wish people would, at least here, recognize it. And I was in somewhat of a debate. Let's see if I got, I'm not sure, go see if I can find, probably not going to find it. My man, Larry Swedroe, he kind of called me out for being, you're awful confident about deflation, Josh. And he made fun of me a little bit. I said, look, man, no one knows nothing. All I do know is that we've known economists have been wrong more times than I can imagine. You know what I'm saying? And as such, more times than someone bet against Tom Brady, economists have been. So no one knows anything. But I do know is that just because the government is pushing rates down doesn't mean you're going to have the sudden demand for debt. It doesn't mean the sudden demand for debt is going to lead to higher economic growth. We've seen that now in Japan and the United States. So look here. What did my man say here? He said, right there, highest inflation since summer of 2008. Huh. And what happened from 2008 till today? What did inflation do? Certainly in summer 2008, what happened from summer to March 9th of 2009? Not just the stock market, but the economy just continued to fall in the crapper. You see what I'm saying? So just because there's the highest since it doesn't mean anything. Just because the federal government is doing this out of it doesn't mean anything. Because there's no correlation between this movement and that happening. There is none. Everyone wants there to be. There isn't any. There isn't any mechanism for the federal government to stimulate borrowing, which will stimulate demand if businesses are in a budget balance sheet recession, which is they don't want to borrow anymore. And I'm telling you, this is the benefit of having, in the last 20 years, two significant declines, bubble pops, because people say, yeah, I'm not so sure I want to borrow because I've seen what happened to people who borrowed last time and the time before. Say, went bankrupt. And what caused them to go bankrupt was the debt. You don't go bankrupt without any debt. You don't. You don't go bankrupt without debt. You don't go bankrupt without debt. You don't go bankrupt without debt. And so people aren't stupid. They say, yeah, I think I'm going to avoid those short-term teaser loans. And I'll give you the example for me. When we moved to Texas, we took a home equity line of credit on our home from USAA back in 2007 or 8, whenever we moved down there. And I'll never forget. And not USA. We took a 0% interest transfer, but a balance transfer on our credit cards from a Chase Bank. And it's 0% for the life of the loan. Well, it turns out it wasn't 0% for the life of the loan. It's 0% until Chase felt they needed to raise the rates. And I said, what the hell, man? All of a sudden went from 0 to 14.99. My credit was still fine. Nothing. I'd pay my bills on time. I was paying more than a minimum. And they said, well, if you look at the small print, it says when things get dicey, we can change the interest rates. And I said, and that was like the worst possible time for me. I said, man, I learned my lesson. And we were just able to get out of that. By the skin of our teeth did we survive that. I'll never forget that. And I said, I'll never let that happen again. Never let that happen again. I don't care. You're 0% financing. I don't care. 0% life loan. I don't care. I will never let that happen again if I can avoid it. Now I got a debt on this house right here, but that's it. And I got more equity in this house Even if the market were to fall 30%, I'd still be above water. You see what I'm saying? And that's a balance sheet recession. I am not borrowing like that again, ever, because by the skin of my teeth did my family survive that. If I would have lost my job at that point, and I was very worried we would have been in a world of hurt. Thankfully, it didn't happen, but it did happen to other people. Those people are going to be in balance sheet recessions. Then I hear about this company called MicroStrategy, how they're borrowing, they're issuing debt to buy Bitcoin. I'm like, who in God's name would buy their freaking bonds? You're taking all the risk with no upside, because all you're going to get is a fixed coupon rate and your money back if they can pay it back. But Bitcoin goes to the crapper, your goose is cooked. Why would you loan money to MicroStrategy so they can use that money to buy Bitcoin? It's crazy, unless they're giving you some convertible securities or something like that. But that's nuts. And I mean, I don't know if they're able to succeed in issuing that debt, but I'm like, this is crazy man talk, man. So there's a balance sheet recession. It happened in Japan. Certainly going to happen here for sure. That people are saying, I'm not so keen on borrowing because I've seen what happened. All right. So what does that mean? I want to share you what I'm going to do tomorrow. So the market will open 9:30 tomorrow. I'm going to take my gains off the table from what I've had since last year. All right. So I'm up. I think my VTV is up. What was my VTV up? 25% year over year. I think it's up 25. So for simplicity, let's add $100,000 in there. It's worth 125. I'm taking 25,000 off the table. All right. And I have my VDIGX, I think it's only up 16%. I'm taking that off the table. So I'm basically going to take, for every 100,000 I got, I think I'm going to take 41,000 off the table, if that makes sense. No. So for every 100,000 I had, it grew to 125 for BTV, and I'm going to take 25,000 off the table. So I'm basically taking a quarter of my portfolio, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to buy here. And this is not advice for you all. I don't know your situation. I'm just telling you it's not advice for you guys. I'm going to go, and we are going to buy. Oops, hold on a second. Where did it go? You made me feel like dancing, Winnie Finny, you made me feel like dancing. Yes. Oh, such a gorgeous dog over there. I love that little baby. Yes, I do. I'm going to buy. Hold on just a second. Then again, you know I love you. All right, Vanguard. Then again, you're so handsome. Where's Pablo, babes? You with you? Babe's not here. All right. So let me go back. Show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to buy some. Fanny, he's my puppy. I'm going to buy some tips, some Vanguard short-term inflation protected securities, some tips. All right. And why I'm buying tips, my friends, is because what happens in deflation? What's a good account to own during deflation? Well, it's going to be bonds. Now, will tips be worth it in deflation? Nah, not so much, because there's literally no interest rate that you're getting right now. But you know they're not going to go down. So anything that's fixed income is good in deflation. All right. So we know that for a fact. If it's deflationary, anything that's fixed, that's cash, that's CDs, that's fixed annuities, that's whole life insurance, that's any kind of fixed income that is guaranteed not to go kaput. Government bonds are good against deflation. All right. Now, what else is good against inflation is inflation protected securities. So in this case, I'm going to buy some tips, because while I do think deflation is what we're going into, if I'm wrong, right, I have stocks, but stocks aren't inherently guaranteed to go up with inflation. I don't get this whole stocks are hedges against inflation. Where is that? Where's the proof of that? It didn't happen during the 66 to 82 time. It just did not, which is the most inflation we've ever had in the United States. And the stocks did not do well during that time. So this whole thing that stocks are hedges against inflation is silly. Gold is a hedge against inflation. There's no evidence of that. What we do know is if it's inflationary bonds, they are in hedges against inflation. That's a fact. Now, you're not going to make 25% presumably on your money, but you will keep up with the rate of inflation. There's no two ways around that. Plus, they're government guarantees. So I like that. So you have some security knowing the bonds aren't going bankrupt, and you have a hedge against inflation. And because it's fixed income, it's also, I don't want to say a hedge against deflation, but anything that's fixed income is a good offset to deflation for sure. So this covers both ends, because I do think the market is going to have there's going to have a crunch of some kind. And I don't know if it's 25% or 35%. I don't know. But we're going to go through some pretty dicey times for sure. And this is not to say you throw your hands up in the air and put everything into the firebox, the fireproof safe. This is just to say, at the end of the day, let's be diligent, make sure we protect our gains, and do something where you say, okay, I like the idea of some bonds that are deflationary, inherently protected, because again, fixed income protects against deflation, but will keep up with inflation in case I'm wrong and inflation comes into it. Hope that makes sense. So I'm going to put some money in tips. I'm also going to buy some the Vanguard real estate in REIT too as well, if I can find that guy. Oh, let's just look at the tips here. So the tips, 5 basis points is the fee. Doesn't cost much. You can buy your own tips, but I'm like, man, let the people at Vanguard do it. Well, I don't want to mess around with this stuff. Just let these guys do it. It's liquid. There's no sales charge or anything like that. I mean, I don't want to mess with this stuff. I just like the idea. Turn over to Vanguard. Vanguard controls billions and billions of dollars. They know how to run the bonds. I don't know, and I'd rather not. But you can do it if you want. But I'm just going to pay them 5 basis points. What to do? You'll see right now it's got a 30-day SEC yield that's negative 2.81. But it's the real yield, the yield before adjusting for inflation. So the actual yield will be a combination of the real yield and an inflation adjustment. A complete estimate of the fund's yield requires that an estimate of future inflation be added to the real yield. Because inflation fluctuates, it cannot be projected into the future precisely enough to be included in the yield quote. The inflation adjustment is based on the changes to CPI and can either be positive or negative based on CPI. So let's just say you're going to break even with inflation. I'm okay with that. It's guaranteed by the federal government. You break even with inflation, has downside risk protection, and on top of that, it's deflationary protected as well. You can see it hasn't really done much since 2011 until today. You've only made 11% on your money, so it hasn't done much. And I wouldn't expect it to do much. I expect it to give me short-term protection against chaos, if that makes sense. So I'm a big fan of this guy, and I will be buying some of this. All right, so big fan, first time, long time. All right, so then we're gonna go to hold on a second. Now I'm gonna buy some REITs. And again, I'm not taking everything off the table. I'm taking about 25% of my portfolio, which is essentially the gains that I've had over the last year, and I'm gonna diversify into REITs. I'm gonna diversify into short-term the Vanguard tips. So Vanguard REITs, and then I'm going to diversify I'm going to buy some I bonds as well, right here. So it sounds like you're worried about inflation, Josh. I'm worried about everything. I'm more worried about the market. What I always worry about is seeing my gains evaporate, because I saw that happening, not for me so much because I don't have any money, but in 2001 and 2, and then 2007, 8, and 9, I saw people's money evaporate, and you knew they should have done something. I had a guy I was talking to not too long ago. He made a bundle of Bitcoin, and he didn't sell enough. Man, I was like, dude. Anyway, so he emailed me. He said, Bitcoin will come back. I said, I hope so, for your sake. But yeah, so Bitcoin's at 36,000 right now. So he's down. I think he said he had $1 million paper loss. Trust me, he's still well in the black. But Bitcoin has there's nothing backing. Unlike Costco, unlike Walmart, unlike freaking Exxon, there is no value to Bitcoin other than just what other people value it at. That's it. The S&P 500 has a value. I mean, literally, it's transactional. It has goods as employees. It makes money from selling you goods. There's nothing like that for Bitcoin, which is the difference between a Bitcoin drop off and the S&P 500 dropping off. The S&P 500 still has people, has real live inventory, has sales, if that makes sense, has products that people need. And so, anyways, but I do expect the market, to get chaotic for sure. Because they are going to start doing things with, getting out of the quantitative easing and stuff like that. Who knows where that's going to be? If they do raise rates, and just like what happened in 1982, now with Paul Volcker and Ronald Reagan, they raised rates that caused a pretty significant recession, which basically cost the Senate for Reagan in 1982, that recession. Thankfully, they had the foresight to stay true to the course. But if they start raising rates or even talk about raising rates, we already have, again, a balance sheet recession. Raising rates only makes it harder for firms who do need to borrow money to stay in operation, makes it more costly for them, which means some of them, they won't be able to find credit. Some will have to issue more debt at a higher rate when they need the credit, which means there's going to be more of that hit on the cash flow, which could be problematic for some, like us. Listen, my man Simon over at Uneducated Economist, zombie corporations who are heavily financed to the hilt right now, and they need short-term money for cash flow operation. If that short-term money is cheap, they might be able to afford it. But the minute that short-term money goes higher, that's a big hit to cash flow. And at some point, banks say, I don't feel comfortable owing you money. I was reading some other place. I think some banks said, we don't want your deposits anymore. Don't deposit. We don't want your deposit. We have too much liquidity. All right. So businesses say, we don't want your debt. Banks say, we don't want your cash. That's not good. And then like Simon was saying, once they get rid of the zombie people too, i.e., people who are just living day to day on the backstop of government welfare, essentially, and on top of that, the eviction moratorium and all that. I mean, this can't continue on. At some point, it's going to come, and when it comes, and all of a sudden, people all have this back rent. You'll be lucky to get the front. You'll be lucky to get the back rent. No, what do you say? You'll be lucky to get the front rent. I can't remember. I go on bourbon, one scotch, one beer. What did he say? You'll be lucky to get the back rent. I can't remember what he said. But anyway, so people are like, man, you'll be lucky to get the back rent. I'm not even going to pay the front rent. Whatever George Thorogood said in that song that he copied off somebody else, which is a good song. But anyway, point being is once you have these zombie people and all of a sudden the bills come due and the support stops coming, what does that do to demand? Yikes. Demand falls off a cliff as well, and then we got some problems. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I have no idea, but it only makes sense. The government can only support people for so long before the bills come to be owed, and when they come to be owed, yikes. I was reading someplace today in Zero Hedge, there's like 17 million people still on unemployment when there's 9 million jobs available. There's a huge disconnect here, man. And so once these the rents start coming due and the good times roll stop, there's gonna be some interesting dynamics out there, and I just want to be in front of that because I'm 50 years old, my friends. You might be a little bit older than me. You can't afford a freaking 35% decline. So think about it like this. It's easy to look in hindsight to say in 2001 and 2, I could have afforded a 9, 11, and a 12 and a 22% decline. You know why you could? Because you were still actively engaged in employment back then, amigos. You weren't pulling money off the portfolio. 2007, 8, and 9. You were actively employed back then. You might have been let go and stuff, but that's a whole lot different than in retirement at a 60-year-old man with creaky bones. When you're a 60-year-old man with creaky bones, and you look, I was able to ride this out in 2001 and 2 and 2007, 8, and 9. Well, 2007, 8, and 9, you're 45 years old, still Sprite. 2001 and 2, you were freaking 40 years old. You're freaking still playing company softball team. You see what I'm saying? A whole different can of worms here than when you're looking at retiring. And I'm not looking at retiring. I always look at it like this for me. What happens if my channel was yanked and everyone said, I hate you, Josh, you're the worst. I don't like Trump and I don't like Republicans and I certainly don't like you. I don't like your dogs. Your breath stinks. You haven't shaved. You're in a t-shirt. I'm out of here. I'm going to some fancy schmancy guy on YouTube. What happens if I got my channel yanked and none of you guys want to hire me? All right. And on top of that, the economy is going to hell in a handbasket. It's better to have some safety net. Again, what I talked about yesterday, the 4 years of cash, and miss out on some upside after we've had 13 years of significant upside like we've never seen before, in my opinion. And I'm 50 now, so maybe this is dating me a little bit. If I was 25, it might be a little bit different. But when you're self-employed, And it's a very interesting economy dynamic because I'm a sharecropper on YouTube. They can pull me whenever they want. Hell, they pulled Crowder. You see what I'm saying? If they could pull that guy and he's making bank for YouTube, they can pull me. They pulled Brett Weinstein, not his channel yet, but he got a couple of strikes for talking about ivermectin. And like he's like literally a scientist, and he's talking to a real life doctor who speaks on ivermectin, and they pulled him for saying he was anti-science. And this is Brett Weinstein, literally a scientist. The whole thing's nuts. They can pull my channel just like that, which is why you should subscribe to my other channel, by the way, Josh Scanlon, because I won't stop. I mean, once you get in the YouTube freaking, once you get the bug, it doesn't stop, man. You got the bug. You love doing it. Anyway, point being is I need to protect that in case something were to go awry. And I still have a mortgage. And I always look at the context of, okay, if everything went to hell in a handbasket, how would I pay the mortgage? If that makes sense. How would I pay the mortgage? Well, I have enough in liquid, easily accessible cash to pay the mortgage. And I need to make sure I do. And for my case, I need to make sure I have about 4 years of mortgage payments in liquid cash, because I'll go dig ditches if I have to. I don't care. But I need to make sure the mortgage and healthcare are two biggest things. Charlotte's in charge of healthcare. I'm in charge of the mortgage. So that's the kind of way we've defined our family. And so as long as I can get enough to pay the mortgage, obviously we gotta have food. I get all that. But as long as I have enough to pay the mortgage without having to go into more debt to pay it, I'll feel pretty comfortable. That's me. So Charlotte will be in charge of healthcare. So I need to have that money on the ready, and I can't have that go down 30, 40%. Don't forget, we have never been in the place we've been the last year. Never. Now we have rations. I grant you, in World War II, we had FDR telling freaking farmers to plow their plots, to plow under their growing vegetables in the Great Depression when people were starving to keep the prices high. But they had illegal to make it to own gold. But essentially, it was illegal. It was illegal for you to open your business in the United States in 2020 and 21. Never been there before. I think it's best to protect the downside. All right, so let's look at the Vanguard real estate. Hold on a second. We're going to go to VGSIX. Oops, Vanguard. All right, so let's get you back on. You'd be lucky to get the front rent. I'll be lucky to get the back rent. I got some bourbon, one scotch, one beer. What's going on here? I ain't seen my baby since the night before weeks. Night of the week. I got to get a drunk, man, so I can't even speak. Got to get high, man. Listen to me. One drink enough, Jack. You better make it 3. Wasn't it, BG? B. Huh. Okay. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to buy the ETF too, by the way. And again, just because I'm buying it, certainly not saying you should do it. 12 basis points of the fee, very inexpensive. Right now we got, what does that say? Pays the current unadjusted effective yield is 2.81 as of 4/30, which is based on the full amount of the REIT distributions, return to capital gains, and as well as of dividend income, as well as return to capital gains. The adjusted effective yield is about 2%, reflects a reduction in income, including the yield based on the average. So I don't even know what all that means, but at the end of the day, so we're paying about 2% on this right here, it looks like. And yeah, whatever. What happened? There we go. So it looks like it's about 2% or so. And we go back to 2011, $10,000 is now worth 23. So it doubled. They're not great. I mean, about 8% a year growth over 10 years. I'll take that. But what else protects you against deflation? Well, it's real estate. Real estate can certainly drop in value, I grant you, but the thing about real estate is a tangible asset that you can actually touch. I can touch this building right here. It's here. Someone's going to live here. Someone's might not work here. So I hope Vanguard is more going into the homes as opposed to commercial buildings, but it depends on where they're doing the commercial buildings. I don't know. And I'm going to trust Vanguard knows what they're doing. So you got some American Tower, I think that's cell phone stuff, public storage, Simon Property Group. I don't know. I trust that Vanguard knows what they're doing because I just like Vanguard. I'm very comfortable with using this right here for sure. But we know that real assets are a hedge against deflation. And we also know that real assets are maybe a hedge against inflation as well. Both these things will probably underperform if we take another wonderful 10 to 15 years of stock market performance. Certainly TIPS would. And I imagine real estate investment trust would as well. But it kind of gives you to play the both places. You say, I got some real estate and I got some TIPS and I'll buy some I bonds as well. So that's what I'm going to do here. So let's look at the I bonds. And a guy had emailed me about I bonds. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but that was so let's go to here. I had totally forgotten about I bonds. I said, man, oops, hold on a sec. Oh man, the Treasury Direct, right? Treasury. Oops, hold on a sec. Direct. Okay. Hold on just a second. All right, so let's look at some I bonds as well. I'm going to buy these outside of my IRA. I'm just going to pay some cash money for these I bonds. Can you all see that? Okay, cool. So here's an I bond. What is an I bond? I bonds is a security that earns interest based on both a fixed rate and a rate that is set twice a year based on inflation. The bond earns interest until it reaches 30 years or you cash it in, whichever comes first. For the first 6 months you own it, the series I bond we sell earns an annual rate of 3.54%. A new rate will be set every 6 months based on this bond's fixed rate, which is 0, and on inflation. So it's basically geared towards the CPI. Right here, you can buy I bonds by going to Treasury Direct, which I don't have an account there, but I can open up one tomorrow. How much the bonds cost? You can only buy $10,000. I think it's per Social Security number. So I'll buy one for me and buy one for the better half. I do think it's Social Security number. So in a calendar year, you can acquire $10,000 in I bonds on Treasury Direct. All right. So the limits apply separately. So you could acquire another $15,000 if you want to buy the paper I bonds using your federal tax refund. But anyway, I'm going to buy $10,000 for me and $10,000 for the old ball and chain. All right. So I bonds, I'm a big fan of I bonds for sure. This actually, I think is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I mean, you got Martin Luther King, you got Helen Keller, Hector Garcia, Martin Luther King, Chief Joseph, George Marshall, Albert Einstein, Marian Anderson, and this guy. So anyway, whatever. But you got lots of, I think that's pretty cool. So you can buy them. Let's see, a tax. I want to show you about taxes here. Hold on, tax considerations. The interest rate on your I bonds is subject to federal income tax, but not state or local tax. That's pretty good, man. You are. Let's see right here. I want to show you where it says your tax. Hold on, just a second. When must I report the interest on my taxes? You have a choice. You can report the interest every year, or you can defer reporting the interest until you sell it, essentially, which is pretty cool. You can say, I'm not going to report the interest until I cash the bond and receive what the bond is worth, including the interest. So, or I give it up. So basically, I turn it over I give it to my kids or something like that. But anyway, you can buy I bonds. You can defer the taxes on your I bonds, and you don't pay state income tax until you basically sell the bonds. The I bonds have stopped earning interest because reached maturity. So I'm a big fan of I bonds. Again, the drawback is you only buy $10,000 a clip, but every year. But man, that's a pretty good investment. And so in this case, again, anything that's fixed income is deflationary protected, and anything that's fixed income that's subject to inflationary I bonds or TIPS are also have inflation contingents as well. And because they're government guaranteed, you're not going bankrupt in those things. So what you have here is you essentially have, going back to my, kind of my two bucket approach, you got in this case, I'll have 25,000 over here and 100,000 over here. If that makes sense. Because for every 125,000, you know, about a year ago, I had 100,000. Oops. Hold on a second. So for every 125,000 I have now, a year ago, I had 100,000. You see what I'm saying? So I'm basically taking my gains off the table and I'm locking it into guaranteed accounts. And that way, if the markets fall and this 100,000 drops, we'll say the 100,000 drops 30% to $70,000. And then whatever YouTube pulls my channel or something like that, I still got this I can pull on. Now that will happen at some point. That's 100,000 could drop to 70,000 at some point for sure. But if I have some money on the side, it's easier to sleep at night knowing that you were able to take some gains off the table and you can ride out some storms. The basis of the 2-bucket approach to retirement planning. Hope that makes sense. So again, I'm taking my gains off the table. I'm not touching the principal. I'm just taking the gains and I'm dumping into those 3 accounts: TIPS, I-bonds, and the Vanguard Real Estate Investment Trust. That's my plan. All right, so let's see what kind of questions you got. Oh, man, Northern Captain is 20 days to official retirement. No more tree chopping down, I guess. All right, well, congrats, brother. Lose 49 days for him. 49 days of sobriety or 49 days till you retire. I'm just joking. All right. Hey, Joe. All right. Jake says, you're going to love. I'm coming up 1 year retired, says Jake. Well, cool, Jake. And Jake's in Massachusetts. Higher interest rates would be a benefit for those retired, especially the savings accounts rises. If there's little inflation, it's been the low interest rates, which is, I agree. Hawaii, Josh is back. Not in Hawaii? Oh, because I got my t-shirt not shaved. Yeah, probably right, man. Hey, Rob W. turned 61. Nice. Congratulations. I missed a bunch of stuff here. Hold on a second. Oh, I missed a bunch. I don't know why it does that. If I don't hit to the comments quickly enough. So if you have questions, you want to put them in there. If you want to get in front of the queue, do the super chat so I can use that sweet, sweet money to buy some I-bonds. And remember, that guy right there. Hi, Finnegan. Hey, big baby. I think Pablo's with Mama. Finny says, if you want to support Finny's habit, send him a super chat. All right. So let's see. Is the bonds in Wellington government bonds? They're going to be government and highly rated corporate bonds. Yeah, highly rated corporate bonds in Wellington. All mine are in IRAs, Richard. So it's going to be, it won't matter because it's all in IRAs. Yeah, I mean, I always am spooked. You know, it has something to do with when I got that stupid copyright strike, and YouTube says you get another one, we'll yank your channel. I said, well, what? I didn't know you could. I didn't know. I mean, it's weird because I've seen other people copyright strikes because they're using other people's, like YouTube content or something. Like that guy Rick Beato who does music. He gets copyright stricken all the time, but his channel's still out there. And I said, but I don't care if people take the money from that doesn't bother me, but to freaking say they're going to take my channel, I said, what the hell is that? I didn't know. Anyway, so apparently I pissed off some SJW lady, but so she said you can't do that, and YouTube said you can't do that. I said all I did was show her a website, but I guess I can't do that. And I said, all right, now I know. But I got 4,500 videos out there, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure at some point someone will say, oh my goodness, I don't know. And so we shall see what happens. But I got 90 days before it goes away. And so I'm trying to be that's why I'm uploading my other channel a little bit more religiously because, I'm making pretty good money on YouTube. But it occurred to me, I said, man, they could take my channel. What happens then? What happens if my channel gets taken away at the same time the economy falls? And I remember what it was like in 2008. You guys don't understand, man. We were that close. It was friggin' scary. I never want to go back through that again. And the reason we were that close is because we had debt. If we did not have debt, we would have been able to ride it out. All right, so we got some super chats. Thanks. All right, thanks, Steve. And we got Vortex. Coffee for your better half, Josh. The I-bonds is not for the 40-something. All right, so that's a good question, Vortex. Probably not. I think at the end of the day, it really depends on the solid nature of your job. If A, you're okay, you're not miserable in your gig, and you don't think it's going away anytime soon, I don't think I don't think you need to be in bonds at all. I just don't. For me, I got spooked because I was like, you realize, look, I've been on YouTube for 4 years now, and I know how this works. I've seen channels come and go, and I've seen the apocalypse and all this stuff. I've always just done my own content, but I'm surprised that if you were to do an show somebody's website, that could be considered a copyright. I did not know, and I guess that's my own idiocy. But now we know. And that made me say, I need to rethink this a little bit. What happens if? You see what I'm saying? And I'm not petrified of the market at all. I mean, I just think at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that could come as a one fell swoop in my financial situation that I better be prepared for, if that makes sense. So I have a little bit of cash on the side, not quite. I've always wanted $100,000 of cash. Always wanted $100,000 in cash, just sitting in cash. I'm not anywhere near that yet, but I'm getting there. I've always wanted $100,000. If I have $100,000 in cash, I will be 100% back in stocks. Until I have $100,000 in cash, I need to have something on the side. And I also think too, there is something to be said about taking gains off the table, especially, look, man, we've had such a run. So if you're 40 and you're still pumping money away, and I'm still pumping money away into my M1. But where I'm taking gains is my stagnant account, my IRA at Schwab. I don't add anything to that. So it's gone from here to here to here. You see what I'm saying? So it was down, hell, for every $100,000, it was down to $67,000 last March. Now it's back to, 125 or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty significant run up. And you're just thinking, with all that has happened over the last 13 years, the likelihood of up seems a hell of a lot smaller than the likelihood of down. And if the likelihood of down is imminent, doesn't mean it's immediate. It just means it's imminent. At some point, there is going to be a pretty significant down. If that coincides with when my income stream falls away, because I am self-employed, and don't forget, a market decline. Well, how many people are going to want to spend their financial planning fee on me if the markets fall south? You see what I'm saying? I mean, it just makes sense, man. I remember last year in April and May, March, April, and May, my emails was freaking tumbleweeds because people were scared too. They're like, I'm not going to pay Josh's fee because everyone's scared. I mean, we were in the contract to get a pool put in there, and I was like, I don't know, man. We got to wait and see how this shakes out. We actually went through it, thankfully, because now the fees are like 50% higher than they were. But when the markets go south, people spending. This is the whole thing about okay. I got to talk about the 4% rule. I don't know why this is so confusing. The whole point about yesterday's videos, my friends, I'm stunned how many people are negative on this. It's crazy. I said, this lady, what's her name? Christy or Katie or something like that. We had her spending 4% a year, adjusted with inflation, with a 6% rate of return, average rate of return, with a regular volatility. And even then, she had like an 81% probability of success or something like that. Even then. And people are like, you're too depressing. This is everything you've gone against. Do you not recognize why that was good? Because that was essentially a worst case. Again, it's not a worst case scenario because you don't know what the black swan is. But my goodness, it's pretty much a worst case scenario when you factor in the good old fashioned bell curve stuff right here. All right, that's pretty much a worst case scenario. You don't know what these black swans are going to be, these fat tails. You don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting there thinking, so we got the pretty much a worst case scenario. And she still had we'll just say 70% probability of success. Well, she's taken 4% a year out, adjusted with inflation. And I'm using numbers that aren't anywhere near what the guys in the articles I was using. The guys in the articles I was using were historical stock returns with low interest rates. I'm using low stock returns with low interest rates. And she still had a 70% probability of success. And by the way, her income needs were going up each year with inflation. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. People's expenses go like this. Zoops, like that. We know this is what happens. And on top of that, this is what I talked to some guy about today. He's not quite where he needs to be, but pretty close, pretty close. I mean, it's close, but not quite there yet because he didn't quite have a gauge of expenses. But I was like, look, man, at the end of the day, if the markets fall 30%, he wants to go to Japan. You're not going to go to Japan, right? Yeah. If the markets fall 30%, you're not going to pay me my financial planning fee, right? Yeah. I mean, we know this. If the markets fall, people tighten their belt. And the 4% rule not only does it assume, not the rule, but any kind of Monte Carlo scenario, that your expenses go up each and every year with inflation, but doesn't have any just reality that says when the markets, not only do you spend less as you age, but when the markets go south, your spending all of a sudden magically goes like this. You don't buy that pool. You don't go to Japan. You don't pay Josh's freaking fee. You don't do all that because you're scared. You're like, man, I gotta tighten up the belt. You know what I'm saying? Batten down the hatches. It's just common sense. So all these people are like, some lady said, I'm unsubscribing because I don't like fear mongers. Like, what? I was okay. I said, you obviously didn't watch the whole channel. Oh, the whole video. There's no way it's fear mongering. It's crazy. Remember, that's the context of the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, you still got 70% probability of success. So all the other stuff, good night, people. That's a win. On top of that, the lasting 30 years, well, Katie's not going to last 30 years. Don't forget, my friends. Once you're 65, I think the life expectancy for, well, this case, a 60-year-old lady. I think once you're 60, old Katie was 60. Once you're 60, the life expectancy is like 22 years, which means 82 is when you're likely to die. So half the people die before 82, half the women die after 82. All right. The likelihood of you living until you're 90 is not very high. It's just not. Once you're 60 years old, you're going to live beyond 78, but you'll probably, I think it's 82 or 83 or something like that. It's not 90. The life expectancy of a 60-year-old woman is not 90. It's like 82 or 83, which means, again, 50% of the people are dead by the time we hit 83. 50% of the people are still alive. But what happens is by the time you hit 83, there's a significant, so now 83 years old, and what happens, you got this significant dropping of people. Every year they're dropping more and more like flies. Very few people survive until they're 90. Some do, I mean, but not that many in the overall scheme of things. Once you're 60, you're not likely to live 90 years till you're 90. You're just not. All right. But anyway, so I'm not spooked in the least. I just say at the end of the day, I want to make sure I got enough protection because I can't go. I mean, if this fails, what I'm doing here, I'm not going back. I'm not working for another firm ever. I'll go dig ditches or something like that. Go work at Walmart. I don't care about that. But I'm not. My days as a financial planner in terms of working for a big company will be gone. I'll still do what I'm doing. It'll just be a different channel, and I'll lose all the goodwill I've generated over 4 years of creating this channel. But I'm not doing anything. I guess. So Quincy says, should he disinvest of the woke companies? No. It's kind of like these people saying, I'm going to disinvest from BDS. They don't want, they hate Jews, so they're not going to invest in Jewish companies. That's stupid. I'm not going to invest in companies that, fossil fuels. That's dumb. Look, man, you shouldn't invest in abortion providers. I get that. But, other than that, I just think at the end of the day, use the tools of the enemy to beat the enemy. That's just what you do, man. Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. Use the tools of the enemy to beat the enemy. And as such, to rob yourself of a potential diversified portfolio of some of the woke companies. And remember this, Quincy, all these companies are all fake. They're all just paying lip service to it. They're not truly woke. I mean, if they are true, I get it. The HR people are nuts. But at the end of the day, all that matters is if there's no profits, the woke stuff will go away. And trust me, the reason wokeism is here is because we're so flipping fat. And that's what scares me more than anything, man. It's the years of feast before the famine. And it's just like the famine's going to come. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's coming because this trajectory is not sustainable. It's just not. we all know this. It's just not sustainable. I mean, my goodness, man. I never thought in the day I'd ever see outright racist, basically saying white. Do you see that thing I posted on my YouTube channel? Let me show it to you. This is nuts. And, the facts are people. The nice thing is the more belligerent and that the crazies get, the less people are. We're just like, all right, whatever. I'm done with you. You see what I'm saying? It's like we're not like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be called bad names. I don't want to be called racist. Now we're like, look, no matter what we do, they're going to call you racist. So at this stage, call me racist all you want. I just don't care. And as such, that puts us on level footing. We're saying, look, you've used that card too much. It doesn't. Let's see if I can't find it. It doesn't work anymore. And that's probably a good place, because now we're going to come back and take back some of, essentially take back some of the insanity. How can I get my thing here? Hold on a second. What's going on? Yeah, that's me. I put it here. Okay. Okay. For some reason, I can't get on my other one. So boink, boink. Boink. Hold on just a second. All right. Right there. Country road, take me home. West Virginia. Where I was born. Something. Country mama. All right. So we're going to show you guys something here. On having whiteness. This is the Journal of American Psychoanalytic Association. Some guy actually wrote this. Whiteness is a condition one first acquires and one has. A malignant parasitic-like condition which white people have a particular susceptibility. I mean, dude, that's just... I'm glad it's here. I mean, I hate that it's here, but I'm glad it's here too, because finally white people can say, stop this, man. It took too long for white people to freaking show some spine. Now we're starting to show some spine. It puts us back on equal footing, finally. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is wokeism works until it doesn't. And then suddenly, I mean, look, like Zillow. I was saying that earlier today. I was like, where's my Zillow app? And they got the rainbow flag. I mean, everyone knows this is just corporate virtue signaling. Everything is just a pendulum. I actually feel pretty good. I think at the end of the day, the resurgence of people, like this. I did a thing today on the New York Islanders. They're all singing the national anthem loud and proud. Unfortunately, they beat my bees, and so now it's the Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the freaking Final Four of hockey. I'm like, we got the Canadiens, the Islanders, the Lightning, and most likely the freaking Vegas Knights. Oh gosh. Believe it or not, I'm probably going to go for the Canadiens. I wish it was the Maple Leafs, but I'll probably go for the freaking Canadiens just so Canada can have a win. But this is painful. But anyway, even the fans in Long Island were freaking singing, the American anthem loudly and proudly, and that was awesome. So anyway. Millennial here, says Daniel. Completely agree on your point on crypto. Right on, man. Fed won't raise rates till 2023. None of us should want them to do anything sooner. Denise says the banks will discuss race increases. Oh, I'm selling off my. I thought I said I'm selling off the gains in my VTV and the gains in my VDIGX. Let's see. George thoroughly bad. All right. There are institutional traders who shorted bonds and drove up the bond yield with manipulation that's sending now down the rate come back down. It's funny, we always hear that after the fact. How can we not hear that before? How does small caps do in high inflation? Well, that was, from 1977 to 1983, small cap value stocks in particular took off like a bat out of hell. Was that due to high inflation? Maybe. But that was a time where small cap value stocks outperformed significantly. Actually, what my man Jeremy Siegel would say is he said that was because ERISA allowed pensions and other funds and things of that nature to go into more of a broad market, not just the Nifty 50 and stuff like that. So small caps for the first time, we're actually able to get some exposure by the broad market, and as such, they got some buying, and the buys that previously were not able to buy these companies allow them to kind of take off. They were undervalued. Let's see. Tennessee stops paying the federal employment. Yep. I believe 25 conservative states are doing it. Yep. Yeah. All right. So here's vinyl again. A 35% decline. I'm in there buying stocks like mad. Again, the problem with that, when people say that, is I say that means you got a bunch of cash on the side. Presumably, you've had a bunch of cash on the side that missed the last 13 years. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'm ready for declining and buy stocks. So that means you missed out on a pretty significant run to begin with. I mean, it sounds good in theory, but all that cash you had on the side that you're going to use to buy stocks literally missed out on one of the biggest runs we've ever had. So who's better for it? I would say the person who's fully invested and is taking gains off the table now is better for it for sure. Jake said he went through a 50% decline. I stayed in the market. Yeah, but you just retired last year. You see what I'm saying? So staying in the market in 2008 and 9 when Jake was working, digging ditches, a whole lot different staying in the market when Jake's, retired, freaking drinking beers at the local American Legion Hall, if that makes sense. Two different Jakes here. One is easy to stay in the market when the money's coming in. Harder to stay in the market when the money is going out. Yeah, I still like Wellington 100%, without question. I'm not so sure about that. Buy commodities to protect against inflation. I think I 100% think there's something to be said about that. I just, again, the correlation of commodities to inflation, it's kind of like people say gold is a hedge against inflation. What they used to say, Bitcoin, remember they said Bitcoin was going to replace the currency. Now we all laughed at that. Now they're saying, well, Bitcoin's a store of value. Now we laugh at that because it certainly didn't store the value from 65,000. So is it still a store of value? See, it's always like that until it doesn't work like that, which is the one thing about TIPS and I bonds, that they literally are a hedge against inflation, 100%, 100%. That's what I like about them. TIPS and I bonds, they will hedge against inflation with a government guarantee. You're also guaranteed not to make much money. I mean, that's just keep that in mind. Kevin says the Feds will keep pumping up the market in the near term. Not to say that the market is overvalued, because it is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know. We don't know if, is it overvalued if it goes up another 25%? Does that mean it's overvalued? I mean, see what I'm saying? We don't, it's easy to say it's overvalued, but by what context? See, this thing, when it comes to overvaluation, by historical PE ratios? Well, then if the stock market is overvalued, the bond market is 5 times overvalued, the historical PE ratios, because the inverse yield to the price of bonds is significantly higher than the higher PE ratios that we're seeing now. And so as such, it's saying, well, if the market's overvalued, the bond market's overvalued, real estate's overvalued. I mean, that's the asset inflation. No one should deny that, which is what the Feds was doing. And that's why this economy is bifurcated, where you have the K economy. You got the rich people making bank on their assets, and you got the poor people not making much. So because they're labor intensive jobs. And it's like you could not have picked it better. If you're a globalist cabal, you could not have picked it better. This freaking is evil stuff, man. This conspiracy theorist, it's not a conspiracy. I mean, it is a conspiracy, but it's not theory. It's absolute. Look at what the World Economic Forum has said. The global Davos crowd they're all aligning themselves for this. Also, there's going to be a carbon tax. It's coming, and that's going to hurt. There's just this green stuff is, for some reason, the freaking the titans of industry, that is their way to limit their competition. That's their moats. By being green, i.e. buying carbon tax credits and carbon offsets, where just a startup business can't. It's such a freaking scam. It's such a scam. Oh, I didn't post this on my YouTube channel. Let me see if I can't find it. You want to see something freaking ugly? Oh, this really angers me. Hold on a second. Let me delete that. Let me delete that. All right. I want to show you guys something here. Oh, puppy dog. He's still sleeping over here, and it is raining. It's raining, man. It's raining, man. All right. Point him some barking dogs. Hold on a second. I want to show you guys something that will make you mad. Make you mad. All right. Where can we go to? Hold on a second. I'm going to show you guys something from Hawaii. All right. I got to find it, though. Coming up. It's coming up. Look, first of all, look at that. Isn't that tree nuts? Look at that. The hell is that? It's the weirdest thing ever, man. All right. So check. This is, you want to get freaking mad? You see that? One of the most beautiful places in mankind, North Shore of Hawaii. There's these ugly monstrosity windmills. Yikes. Windmills is freaking evil, dude. You can't get any more disgusting than in Hawaii. Windmills. And we're all going down the pike like that. It's all happening. Some guy posts on LinkedIn. He goes, nature is beautiful with all these windmills out in the offshore of UK or something like that. A beautiful sunset looking over the glorious ocean. These windmills just is freaking evil and disgusting. It's evil. It's like 1950s architecture. You just want to escape from Witch Mountain. It's just disgusting, man. I'm sitting there thinking this is just straight up evil. It's all going to be more because the corporate globalists, they all are in charge. The World Economic Forum, it's a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy, but they're not hiding it. By 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. That's exactly what they want. All right, so my man says about a week of 10 goes, he bought 50,000 Vanguard REITs. Oh man, he's up 8.5%. Hey, luck's better than competence. That's for doggone sure. Yes, right on. There goes. No more 50% declines for me, says Jake. 100%, man. Nah, I'm not a big fan of these qualified annuity contracts. I don't like those at all. I've done videos on them a couple years. Unless they've changed, they don't have any appeal to me whatsoever. Vino says you don't want how much do I? Oh, there you go. I mean, that's the issue. You have cash on the side. It's it's all good if you have cash on the side. I just hear people say, I dodged a bullet in 2007. I sold, and then I got back. And I say, when'd you get back in 2009? I say, show me your statements. And I'm not saying this about you, Vino. I'm just saying, I hear all the time, I keep all kinds of cash on the side. I said, well, how have you kept cash on the side? Exactly. You keep cash on the side, so you're missing out on a bunch of growth. That's for sure. Hey, Eric's in Florida. Right on, man. Freaking hot it's gonna be hot as you know what down here the next week, Eric, and at least North Georgia. It's gonna be 90 and humid with no rain in sight. So we're getting tons of rain now. Next week is gonna be freaking lots of 90 degrees and lots of sun. Ooh, summer is here. Oh boy, Harry's gonna be on the Tesla event tonight. Don't miss it. Always a good time. All right. Oh yeah, I definitely think crazy times are ahead, without question. I mean, you can't have a soft landing from this. You can't. And that doesn't look, man. I mean, I'm not sitting here thinking it's all because of Biden. It's not. I mean, this has been, put into, since Hank Paulson, essentially. And that was a George Bush guy. You know what I'm saying? Larry Summers. I mean, all these guys, well, even before that with Barney Frank and freaking Fannie Mae with Franklin Raines and Jamie Gorelick. And there were some Republicans who were bought out by Fannie Mae too. Then Hillary Clinton back then wanted to nationalize the student loan debt, and they were able to do it. I mean, this whole thing is just one big, it's Republicans and Democrats alike. And it's going to be ugly. It doesn't mean it's going to go freaking 1932. It just means when you're about to retire or you're, at risk of losing income stream. No, I'm not saying I'm at risk. I'm just saying at the end of the day, you got to protect what you've been given to make sure you have enough to pay the bills. That's the whole point about not having any debt. If you don't have debt, it alleviates a lot of that concern. It's just that simple. Ooh, Harry, that's so Harry's saying Joe is doing a Mao and a great leap forward. I don't think Joe's doing a great leap forward. There's no red guards or Mao guards for old Joe, that's for sure. And Kamal's an idiot. Look, we all know Kamal's an idiot. I mean, she doesn't. No one likes Kamala, so I'm not worried about her. There's no one really on the left that scares me too much. I mean, Antifa's clowns, but no one really on the left that scares me in terms of that guy can get the rabble rousers. There was a lady up in Boston that was trying to rabble rouse against these white kids in Hopkinville or something like that, Hopkinton. And that was beginning to get a little bit frightening, but the truth came out that this lady is a race baiter, and they're trying to go after these innocent white kids. And when the truth came out, her story just magically went away. I don't know if you've been following the Michaela Miller thing. There's a lady who killed herself, but the black rabble rousers on BLM are trying to say she was literally lynched by these white kids, and the whole thing was just evil. That was a little bit concerning. And but then the truth finally came out because my man Turtle Boy exposed Monica Grant for who she is, which is a race hustler. And once the truth came out, it just quietly went away in the night, just like all these racial hoaxes do, by the way. But other than that, there was no one really out there that, we got Stacey Abrams that's trying to rabble rouse. I think her days passed, frankly. No one, I don't know. Maybe people still care about her. I'm sure the woke leftist liberal women are like, oh, Stacey, we love you. She doesn't concern me. Kamala's an idiot. She doesn't concern me. I'm just trying to think like a Maoist revolutionary, that the idiot Kendi Abrams or whatever, Kendi Abraham, idiot. I think people are seeing it now for what it is, whereas a year ago, maybe not. When at the precipice of the Black Lives Matter, it seemed to be pretty bad. And then, and it seemed like a lot of normal people were being scared into saying, I go, yes, whatever you want, BLM, just leave me be. That was Maoist stuff right there. The nice thing about America, unlike China, is that America has millions and millions of what out there. And Americans, there are many wokesters, but there are also many who aren't. And we're not stupid. We've seen history. We know what happened when you just voluntarily give away your what. And no one's going to, I'm not doing it. I mean, no, you're not doing it. No one's going to do that. I mean, some idiots will, I guarantee. But the vast majority of people who have those tools are not just going to say, here, go ahead and, freaking Sniffy Joe, take away my what. They're not going to happen. Now, does that mean there's going to be a freaking civil war? No. It's just at the end of the day, no one's going to we've seen what happens when the commies take over, and, it's not going to happen here. I mean, what they're going to do is they're going to get you. Well, I don't understand what this issue with I was listening to Brett Weinstein the other day talking to his wife, Heather Hying. He's talking to this guy, Pierre Core, I think, and a doctor. And they're both like, what is it with this need to have everyone vaccinated? It's like weird. Like, and these guys are pro-vax. They're like, this is just strange. It's like, what is this need to have everyone vaccinated? Yeah, and it's interesting. It's a little bit scary, but it's interesting. Like, so if you get antibiotics because I talked to these two people today, they both had COVID, pretty bad too, by the way, but now they got the antibiotics, and they're like, we're not getting vaxxed because we already have protection. But yet, for a lot of people, that's not enough. You still got to get the vax. You're like, why? It doesn't make sense. It's very odd to me. It's very, I don't know, I don't like it. And yet some people are still like, you got to get vaxxed. And you're sitting there thinking, why? Why? I mean, literally, there's no reason for that whatsoever. It's just odd. But I think cooler heads are prevailing, guys. I do. I think cooler heads are prevailing, which people were initially shocked and awed by the whole thing of last year. And then they didn't want to take up for Trump because Trump talked bad. He said, oh, my goodness, he made me feel bad about myself because of his Twitter feeds. And Trump was his own worst enemy in a lot of ways. But, at the end of the day, I think people are getting their spine back. I do. I'm actually pretty optimistic. I'm not gonna lie to you. That doesn't mean the economic faltering won't happen. I just think, from a Maoist perspective, the Red Guards, the Maoist, the Hitler Youth, and all this that's out there for BLM and Antifa. I'm not all that worried about that. I'm not. I am worried about a pretty significant economic correction, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I'm worried about it. Again, I am still heavily invested in stocks, guys. I don't want you to think I'm freaking hiding. I mean, the vast majority of my liquid net worth still in VTV, still in VDIGX. I still have 100 shares of Acoma, in the VTI. I'm still plugging $1,000 a week or every 2 weeks into VTI. So it's not like I'm shying away from stocks. I'm just saying, let's make sure we protect and take some gains off the table. But by the way, that's what I tell people to do all the time. So take some gains off the table, for heaven's sake. 4 years cash. This shouldn't be new to anybody. You got 4 years cash, liquid, safe accounts, and the rest should be in VTI. Pretty simple. Don't say what word. What word did I just say? Yeah, I don't know. I say so. That's the thing. You say so many words and do so many videos at some point. So it's like, he really made me feel bad about myself. I would say, I'm a baby boomer and I can't take it. Or now I can say, I'm a millennial. I can't take it. I'm an all-purpose offender. Yeah, I agree. Stock market, yeah, right on. Value stocks will sell off. Why would value stocks will sell off due to the 10-year plummeting today? Doesn't make any sense. Why would value stocks sell off because of 10-year plummeting? Value stocks, if anything, would be even more. That doesn't make any sense, Harry. If anything, value stocks would be more attractive because the yields that you're getting on the dividends are better than the 10-year. Remember, don't fight the Fed. Rule number one: when the Fed's raising, the stocks take a little bit of a hit because people say I get more bang for my buck on the interest rates on bonds, which means stocks have less. If you look at the risk premium of stocks to bonds, when it's based on the current yields you're getting on bonds. So if the bonds go up, stocks drop because they're more risky for the premium you're getting. So people say, I'll take some gains off the table and lock it into higher coupons. All right. Jill says she's heavy into cash. Yep. Yeah, there you go. So I think adding more bonds, have I bonds and some tips. Yeah, 100%, man. That's if you're getting 2 to 3% on that cash, Jill, as we talked about, it's tough to beat, man. Tough to beat. Why not oil stocks? I don't want to be that. I mean, I had Exxon. I mean, I did have Exxon. I sold it for a nice little gain. I just don't want to be that specific in terms of a certain type of stock anymore. The only reason I bought Exxon because it had taken on the chin so much. I said, if they don't cut their dividends, I think the stock could have a nice little run, and it did. And I'm not even sure what Exxon's doing. I sold that like 58. I think it's up to 62 the last I checked. But yeah, now it's at 62.75. So I took. I was up. Hell, I bought it at 38. I think I sold at 58. So I made a little nice money there. And the reason I did, again, when I bought it, I said, well, if they don't cut their dividend, because that was one of the reasons it fell so much, is that that should go up, and they hadn't cut their dividend yet. In fact, let's see. Yeah, so now they get a 5.5% dividend yield with it doesn't say what the dividend they're paying, but I don't think they cut their dividend, but they got a 5.5% dividend yield. So that's a whole lot less than what it was when I bought it at 38. 401ks, I work through Vanguard. Do we keep the money at that 401k? I'd roll it to Vanguard IRA. Again, Kim, I can't remember how old you are, but just remember, if you're under 59 and a half, you probably want to keep it at your 401k simply because you have access to it without penalty. If you're over 54 and under 59 and a half, if you're over 59 and a half, I just can't remember your age, then roll it to an IRA. Absolutely. Kirk says, great time to flip cars. I don't have the strength, man. I used to. Well, as a weightlifter, I could probably flip them. Just joking. I don't have the strength to flip them. I'm just goofing you. Vinyl says you only get 10K a year. Is tiny. Well, good night, Vinyl. Send us some of that Connecticut scratch, man. All right. My wife paid the water bill. It was 50 Philippine money, $1.05 US money. Electric bill is $50 last year. Tax on our house was 140 a year. So there you go, man. So basically, Prairie Marcus in the Philippines, he ain't paying nothing, and he gets good food. And he's married to a Philippine wife. Tough life that guy, Prairie Mark, lives. Let's see here. I-bonds are yet another Apple product designed to keep you paying them in perpetuity. I-bonds, another Apple product. He's joking, right? He's got to be joking. You're joking, right, Texas? You got to be joking. I-bonds are another Apple product. Let's see here. All right, what else we got here? Well, you're not. Are you trying? I mean, Jake, you're retired, brother. Are we still trying to get rich? I mean, I hate to say it, but if you're not rich now and you're already retired for a year, those days are behind you. What we're trying to do is protect the bottom line and essentially ride off into that Massachusetts sunset without going bankrupt, if that makes sense, man. Yeah, so Kim's got 2 pensions and cash for 5 years. Yeah, right on. I mean, that's the whole point. If you have that kind of guaranteed scratch and Social Security and 5 years cash, you should 100% write out the rest in stocks. It's all just diversification. Cash diversifies against deflation, diversifies against a huge stock market crash. Stocks, grow. In theory, they diversify against inflation. Historically, they have. For a longer time frame, growing dividends, that's always a wonderful thing for inflation. They give you more growth than GDP typically. Inflation. So stocks give you growth, cash gives you current safety, pensions give you income. Perfect. Steven says, you've been watching for 3 months. Where you been, man? Where you been? Right, looking forward to selling carbon credits to idiots, not for cutting my wood lots. I wasn't planning to cut it. Right on, man. That's a great point. I don't know if you listen to the Dark Horse podcast, but someone is they're sponsoring their show today, and they say for every sale they'll plant a tree. And I said, I think you can actually finagle that to a carbon offset that you could turn around and sell to some spoiled rich guy who wants to fly over the world and doesn't want to pollute. He wants to give a hoot, don't pollute, plant a tree today. So I said, I wonder if you can plant a tree for every sale, and I can use those as carbon credits to sell on the carbon market. So that's the way to do it right there, man. Use the tools of the enemy to beat the enemy. Barnyard chickens. Trump is being proven 100% right about something else almost every day now. Putting money in is easy. Taking profits is struggle. Yeah, 100%, man. I've been around this business long enough to say, man, just take the gains when they're given to you. A lot of people say, oh, I should have got out. Yeah, you don't want to do that. How dare you, Jill? Remember, Fauci said, if you disagree with Fauci, you're anti-science. I can't believe you're anti-science. How dare you? Yeah, right on, man. Yeah. And lots of love, lots of kids. Don't forget, the future is won by those who show up. You see what I'm saying? So the kiddos are, hi, oh, there's a baby. Look, he's like looking around. Wait, look. Oh, okay. Hi. What's up, dog? Oh, okay. Just going that side. What a knucklehead. Hi there, big guy. All right, what else we got? Big Pharma. How dare you say that? All right, my friends. Yeah, I was gonna do it today, Kim. I just got lazy. You don't think I should grow a beard? All right, so here's username schmoozername. I think I've cashed for 5 years, unless Peter Schiff is right about hyperinflation. Look, I mean, let me just go back to, I want to read this again because I think it's that important for you all to hear it. Most economists believe that central banks can offset the inflationary pressure caused by deficits by raising interest rates. Higher rates discourage borrowing by businesses. So the premise here is most economists would believe was that if we can deficits will lead to higher interest rates, which will lead to essentially get rid of inflation because higher interest rates discourage businesses from borrowing. Thus, low interest rates encourage businesses to borrow, which increase the growth of the money supply, the velocity of money, and particularly, remember, the monetary supply isn't the key. It's the velocity of money that's the key. How much the money trades hands. It's not the money supply, it's the velocity. So the idea would be higher rates discourage businesses because they won't grow, they won't borrow, which will make capital more expensive to the businesses. Thus, they're rein in on their businesses, rein in on their growth opportunities, and eventually they'll rein in on their employment, causing unemployment. And what that will do is to hamper economic growth. The problem with this is that the idea that lower interest rates are stimulating to the economy, maybe, except when you have a balance sheet recession. Again, as I said, before to start this, a lot of people don't borrow now just because the interest rates are low. Oh, it's a low interest rate. Let me go out and buy a new car. That's not happening. Oh, it's low interest rate. Let me go out and do this. Not happening because people like myself got burned in 2000 through the last decade. My wife is yelling at one of my kids. Shh. She's going to come here yelling at me. Shh. Anyway, so what I'm saying is just because interest rates go higher or lower, that isn't inflationary anymore. And again, we looked at Richard Kuh's book that one of y'all has told me about, 2 years or something like that, the balance sheet recession. All the stimulus from the monetary, the ECB, the Bank of Japan, BOJ, didn't do anything. Didn't do anything because people said, we are not borrowing. We don't care what you are. We don't care freaking if you have zero interest rates. We are not borrowing. We are not taking that debt on the balance sheet because we don't want it, because we know what happened last time we got burned by debt, regardless of what the interest rates are. So just because Peter Schiff says, oh, there's too much money sloshing around, there isn't too much money if the velocity of money is low. And the velocity of money is low is because businesses aren't borrowing. Look, man, I think a lot of people, I mean, this is anecdotal, but I can't remember where we stand in terms of consumer debt. But I think a lot of people are saying, I'm trying. I think Dave Ramsey's done wonders in this regard. Get people to say, I'm paying off debt. I don't care what the interest rate is. I'm paying it off. Can't go bankrupt if you got no debt. That's all there is to it. And as such, I got burned in 2000, 2007, 2009. Not happening again. I'm retiring now. I can't go into retirement with debt. I'm paying that sucker off. And I think people are doing that. As such, the velocity of money is slowing for sure. Balance sheet recession. A lot of businesses are saying, I'm not borrowing. I just think that's the way it's going to be. And as such, the hyperinflation that Schiff and others talk about, I mean, I ask Peter Schiff about the Phillips curve. Just say, hey, what do you think about the Phillips curve? I'd like to hear what he says about that. And if you're not familiar with the Phillips curve, I invite you to look it up. That's economics 101 from many, 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 many moons ago. It's completely been deflated now, but yeah, they still teach it as if it's sacrosanct. It's not. And this is why the whole thing about hyperinflation, I mean, it could happen, guys. And what concerns me most about hyperinflation is the regulatory. Again, the carbon credit offset. I was making jokes on this stuff, but they're getting rid of the Keystone Pipeline now. That's inflationary. I mean, and this is all from government. It's just all from the government. The government dictates our bad news. This is what caused inflation. Nixon's wage and price controls, FDR's, the whole thing is inflationary for sure. And what happens is we get some of these freaking, ration cars and all that. I mean, anytime you're doing that, it's inflationary because you're making things scarce. Scarcity drives prices. Why are things scarce? Because government is regulating the hell out of businesses to produce a good at a profit. It's nuts. And so what happens is just makes things scarce. Scarcity leads to inflation, all because of the government. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. Democrats seem to have more desire to regulate your economic life, that's for sure. And so they say, well, we didn't do it right last time, under Cuba, under Venezuela, under Zimbabwe, under Mao, under Stalin, under Angola, you name it. We didn't do it right, but we're going to do it right this time. This time we'll do it right because Hillary Clinton or freaking Jill Biden or whoever's in office, and this time we know. It never works. So the scarcity is scary to me. I'm not going to lie to you. The hyperinflationary stuff that Schiff talks about, I'm not scared at all about that. But I am scared about the scarcity is two completely, the same coin, but different ways to look at it. I'm more worried about the government creating scarcity with insanity of Keystone Pipeline. You think about it too. Just think about natural gas. Cuomo. And I've said this a couple times, but not tonight. He did not allow no fracking in New York, no pipelines going through New York. So the only way you get natural gas up to New England is through, like the Long Island Sound there through South Jersey. I was talking to a guy yesterday, 2 days ago. They're getting rid of another nuclear plant in New Jersey. I'm like, well, where's the electricity going to come from? You see what I'm saying? So they're getting rid of nuclear. The pipelines are being shut down. Where's your electricity going to come from, Governor Murphy? It's the same thing in California. They're mandating freaking PVs or EVs. They're getting rid of all their dirty generation for electricity. Where's it going to come? That is scarcity. And that's inflationary, without question. That is hyperinflationary, in particular when it comes to electricity. Where's it going to come from? It's man-made scarcity. It's insane. It's insane. So what California will do is kind of what Germany does. They import a lot of this stuff from foreign countries, in this case, Russia for Germany. It's insane. It's freaking nuts. And California imports, I think they even import some from Washington with their hydro. I know they're getting some from coal, but now they're like, no, dirty. We don't want that dirty. Like, well, how are you going to get it? We don't want nuclear. We don't want dirty oil. We don't want natural gas. We don't even want hydro. Well, how are you going to get it? How are you going to get your electricity, especially if you have more of a demand on the load from electric vehicles? It's called unicorns, Josh. Unicorns. Look at this guy. Look at me. Yeah, unicorns. Like, this is freaking nuts. Idiots. You can't do this. This is inherently inflationary. Man-made. But not because of federal government. It's because of idiots in freaking Sacramento and wherever, Trenton. People are freaking idiots, man. And the sad thing is they'll be long gone by the time it comes. People say, I got rolling blackouts again and again and again. And then they're going to turn around. Don't forget, in the 1970s, don't forget when Carter was starting to deregulate stuff. I'm telling you, man, everyone thinks Carter was the worst. Nixon was the worst by far. They wanted price controls on gas. The price of gas at the pump. They wanted price controls. Carter, I think it was Ford actually said, "Niet, not doing that." So the people were calling out for relief because of the gas shortages. The people said, help us. And thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. So we're not going to put price controls on this. But people, one thing, I'm just telling you, man, and I'll do the same. When the price of stuff goes through the roof, you want relief, and you want the government to come in and then crack down on your utility provider, on your water provider, on somebody. And all that does is make it even more scarce. It's just the nature of humanity. And I'm not look, I know if it's freezing to death in where I'm at right now, and the price of natural gas goes up through the roof, and I'm freezing to death in here, I can't afford natural gas. You think I'm not going to vote to say, make price controls? Of course you're gonna. And because it's democracy, which is not good. Your democracy is not a good system of government. It's just not. And so what does that do? Well, it inherently puts a limit on the ability to freaking get new gas pipelines, well, pipelines built, new gas delivered, new research and development. And so inherently you will get scarcity, which is exactly what happened with natural gas in the 70s. But thankfully they did not put price controls on that. And but the people wanted that. It's nuts. If you look at history, you're like, man, I can't believe we survived. It's crazy. Jeremy's saying grow a beard, man. Yeah, it just it itches right there. And I used to get where I couldn't grow hair right there. Looks like I can now. Right there. They say if you smoke too much of the wacky tacky, that you have spots on your hair where you couldn't grow beards. But I used to have where I couldn't grow hair, so it looks like it's come back around. So that's what they say. If you smoke too much of the green ganj, that you would have spots where you couldn't grow hair. Then I'm like, wait, all the Jamaicans got beards. All right, Papa says good info, even for you in Ontario. I feel bad for you guys up there, man. You guys are being run by Maroons. It's nuts. I don't know what the hell's happening in Canada. It's insane. It's insane up there. If you're not watching Viva Fry, don't, because you'll want to jump off a bridge. Yeah, I saw that. So Biden says our two worst things today is global warming and white supremacy. These guys are so living in, I don't get it. BlackRock, yeah, I saw that. BlackRock buying up tons of real estate. I'm telling you, man, we need to break up BlackRock. Those guys are up to no good. BlackRock is up to no good. They need to be breaking out. That's all there is to it. The whole reason why Exxon got taken over, not taken over, but three of these crazy loons got put on the board wasn't because the people who voted had that many voting shares, but they were able to convince BlackRock to support them. And because BlackRock is the biggest position investment company holder in many of these other companies, they did what BlackRock said. Fascism, baby. This is fascism 101. Government tells you, corporations enact. That's how it works, for the benefit of the corporations and the benefit of the government friggin' owner, the government people, the people at the top, the Hunter Bidens of the world. This is fascism 101. Government dictates, corporations executes. What do they do? The first thing they do is get rid of the competition. First thing. And the guys at BlackRock, who's a Larry Fink, the guy's making bank, hand over fist. Now he's going to these freaking residential neighborhoods, buying up homes. What the hell you think they're going to do, man? It's like freaking, who's that? It's a Beautiful Life, Harry Potter. Not Harry Potter, Mr. Potter. It's a company town. It's no different than company town. BlackRock. Got to break these guys up. They're up to no good. Break up BlackRock, man. I'm telling you. Everyone, but they low fees. I don't give a rat's behind. They're up to no good. They are up to no good. Globalist cabal right there. And they are the biggest shareholder in the country, if not the world, because there's so much assets under management, and they vote proxies. It's crazy. It's crazy. They vote the proxies, even though they don't own the shares outright. Theoretically, you do, but BlackRock controls them, the custodian, and they get to vote the proxies, and they vote. They get to put these crazy loons on Exxon board, even though the loons who are running for it only owned a tiny fraction of the votes. It's evil stuff, man. I'm telling you. This is bad. I just find it funny too. Why is Hunter Biden still? I mean, Joe Biden's a straight up racist. Hunter Biden is straight up racist. I don't get why these guys are going to pass. I mean, I do, because they got the D's after their name. I'm telling you, man, you got to take over the Democratic Party. That's what you got to do. Just take them over and just run as a right winger. And oh, how awesome that'd be! Run as a John Silber. You guys remember Silber or Silber? I think it's Silber. You bring back John Silber, who used to be the president of Boston University, and he ran for governor against William Weld in Massachusetts. Bill Weld was a liberal Republican. Silber was a right-wing Democrat of the old school days. You know what I'm saying? The old Irish Catholic Democrats. I'm not sure he's Catholic, but anyway, or Irish for that matter. But the old school Democrats, and Bill Weld was, just the typical blue blood Republican, man. And Bill Weld won, unfortunately, and then that led to Romney. It's been down ever since. All right, my friends, I'm gonna go get another cup of tea. Oh, sweet. How am I? Oh yeah, cool. I want to hear what this guy says. Tell me how I'm racist, please, because I said the Jamaicans have beards. Tell me, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to tell me how am I racist? Come on, man, tell me how I am. Tell me. I don't run off like that. I want to know. I need to know how I'm racist because that cracks me up. Corporations run the government. BlackRock is woke. Yeah, man, absolutely. Big is worse than woke. They're not woke. They're up to no good. There's no other way around that. You think like Mr. Burns, excellent. That's why I think it's Larry Fink from BlackRock. He's like, excellent. Release the hounds. Release the hounds. Yeah, right there. Jack's got 3 years of firewood. Yep, undercover, right on. Yeah, Kim, that garden is coming along. It's I tell you, that Mittleider garden method. You start off with the nutrients here. All right, so the Mittleider Magic Micro Mix, and then you just got to prune it. You got to prune it. Make sure you're pruning it good. And I was away for a week, and that sucker is growing like crazy, man. And this is right here, and you mix it with 16, 16, 16. You probably can't really get that. I know you can't, California. 13, 13, 13, NPK, and once a week. It's a weekly feed, and you water it in. It's got to be soluble. It's got to mix into the ground. But you don't need any kind of you can do a sawdust mixed with perlite. It's fantastic. I love it. I do a lot of container growing. It's just if you're trying to grow food, the Mittleider mix is fantastic. I love it. And they got right here. Get yourself this book right here, the Mittleider Gardening Course, step-by-step guide for the home gardener. This is a plethora of info. Do a man tell me why I'm a racist? Oh, man, he didn't say I'm a racist? Okay. How is Biden a racist? All right. Okay. Well, are you serious? How is Biden a racist? Are you flipping serious, dude? Oh, Ron, you're a good guy, man. You're making me laugh. So, this guy said, "Oh, love it." So Ronald called me a racist. Racist, Josh. I have lost respect for you. And then he said, "Not you, Josh. How is Biden a racist?" Look, folks, look, this guy's obviously a clown. I get it, Ron. You don't like being called racist because you're on the left. And when you hear people, you're used to calling us the racist. And when you hear us calling you a racist, it makes your feelings hurt. How dare you call the Democrats a racist? Oh, this is fun. We're going to have fun with Ron here. And we're not going to belabor him or belittle him. It's fun when the left says, how dare you? We're supposed to call you racist. And you're supposed to say, no, I'm not. My best friend is black. And when we don't fall for that anymore, you don't know what to do. Someone actually said, how is Biden a racist? I'm literally stunned. The ignorance of that statement is breathtaking, frankly. You're a good guy, Ron. I'm sure we could have fun together chatting. If I was a drinker, I'd buy you a pint of Guinness. And I'd tip my hat to you because that might be the funniest thing I've heard all night. And I didn't really need it because I crack myself up anyway. But that was a good joke, man. That was funny. Oh, can you imagine being that ignorant about the world? Say, Biden's not a racist. Oh, my goodness. Let me guess. Some of Biden's best friends are black. Corn Pop. All the black kids at the pool who used to rub up and down against his white legs or whatever he said. Oh, his best friends were black. Oh, my goodness. I love it. It's funny. That's good stuff, man. It's like saying, how's Biden a perv? Did y'all see what Biden said to that little girl with barrettes or braids or whatever it is? Do you see JP Sears today? He did a video, said, he was doing a video saying, all right, show us a video of Biden being a perv. And they went through his litany of Biden's pervy videos. He goes, no, not that one, not that one, not that one, not. And they finally got the one where he's like that little girl. Just the guy is sick, man. We got a racist pervert and basically a pedo in the White House on top of probably the most stupid woman has ever donned a voting guide in the history of mankind, and Kamala Harris. And look, as much as I can't stand Hillary, she wasn't dumb. I mean, she was just evil, but she was an evil genius. Kamala's just dumb. Biden's dumb too. We know that, but Biden's just he's a perv, pedo, and a racist all thrown into one. I'm just sitting there thinking. Then we got Pelosi, who's she doesn't know who she is anymore either. Then you got Feinstein, and I'm just like, this whole thing, the Democratic Party. Look, the Republicans aren't that much better, I grant you. And we still got what's his name out of Shelby? He's in there. The guy from Mississippi, Cochran. Did he ever die? Thad Cochran, I think he did. What a clown there too. But still, anyway, Republicans aren't that much better. But in terms of the Senate, they have no power. Friggin' Pedo Joe, he's in charge. Well, it's not him. It's Jill and Ron Klain. But I just it's embarrassing what is in our leadership. It's nuts. And but it's fun. You got to have fun with this, my friends. Because if you don't, you'll go crazy. It's the people of America, by and large, are still good. The leadership of America is clown, all the way down. Clowns. Corporations are not the savior. Government is not the savior. And where I've come to realize is that what I thought private businesses would be the answer to big government. Nope. They're both just as corrupt and they're both just as bad. And you throw them in together, and that's bad stuff. And many of you guys will say, oh, but UAW, big labor. Nope. Just as bad. Fascism, man, big government, big labor, big business. Fascism 101 right there, baby. Just because there isn't a mustache on the leader doesn't mean he's not a fascist. That's for damn sure. And they'll make the trains run on time, but even our fascists can't even make the trains run on time. Hell, they can't even get the freaking speed line working in California. All the money they spent on that thing from Fresno to Bakersfield or something like that. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I have a sneaky suspicion the famine, the feast is going to be behind us. The famine's coming. So protect, man. Protect the bottom line. All right. So, we have trains. Let's see. I don't know what XRP is. I just want to see if my man wrote back here, but I guess he did. All right. Yeah, Robert Byrd, right? How is Robert Byrd a racist, Zachary? Okay, because he was the Klan. Robert Byrd. Ronald, I'm not going to answer your question because it's stupid, man. Don't ask a stupid question. I mean, my God, if I have to answer every stupid question, I'd never shut up, and I'd talk a lot as it is. Just a dumb question. Ask a good question, for the love of God, man. I can't believe it. I can't believe someone's asking me, how is Biden a racist? Yeah. Oh, if it was for liberal privilege, look, we all know. I mean, hell, we just used Kamala's words. Remember Kamala? Okay. All right. I'm out of here, my friends. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate it. Good talk. Good chat. We'll see you guys next time.